few years ago, I led a retreat, a weekend retreat for elders and deacons of the church. And they wanted to look at their church's past, assess their present situation, and seek to discern where God was calling them in the future. As those leaders sought consensus on a very ambitious set of plans for their future, I was struck by their recounting of the struggles and the reversals of their recent past. For like all too many churches in our presbytery and our denomination today, not to speak of countless individuals or groups, near and far, it dawned on them then how common it was, and these are their words. Every time we struggle to push the stone of hope up the rugged and back-breaking hill of opportunity, invariably it crashed down on us. And so we have to start all over again. You know the legendary story of Sisyphus in the Greek mythology. And so they were really saying that we are like children of Sisyphus. And today I wouldn't be surprised if there are those of you here in our worship service today who see yourselves personally seemingly always up against life's challenges, health-wise and otherwise. We always seem, don't we, to be staring up at an awesome giant of a Goliath, 9 feet tall, menacing and threatening, while we feel like mere midgets, little David, and we are filled with fear and foreboding and armed with nothing but little slingshots. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? I'm talking about some countries in the Caribbean, for example, facing in the path of the hurricanes constantly at this season of the year, Puerto Rico and Haiti and Cuba and the Gulf Coast states. They're always in the path of the hurricane, up against it, year after year. And so I say to us this morning, now that COVID is rearing its ugly head again, and inflation seems to be so untamed, some people are asking, what hope is there for a new day when we can stand on our own 2 feet, even in retirement? And as a church, some of us are asking as the leaders, when will it be? What hope is there for us to have a full slate of officers, a budget that we require to do all the things that we really want to do in mission and in outreach, have a big Sunday school class, and a full-time minister, so you don't have to be putting up with an 80-year-old broken down. And so I ask us today, how can I be talking about, yes, we surely can, when in this kind of a David and Goliath real world, there is so much chaos and uncertainty everywhere? Where is there hope, even for people who have faith in God? That's the question I'm asking us to confront this morning. Now, I don't need to remind you that disheartening difficulties and discouraging developments are nothing new for us as people of God, even for us as people of God. For you know that from Bible times in the Old Testament, Daniel, that wonderful story that was read so beautifully for us a moment ago by Job. Daniel, how he was thrown in the lion's den when he was out there in a strange and foreign land of Babylon, because of his faith and his trust in the God of Israel, the God of all creation. And they concocted this conspiracy and said, in spite of your edict, O king, this one is strange and disobedient, and he is insisting on turning his face to Jerusalem and praying 3 times a day against all that you have ordered. Surely you want us to throw him in the lion's den. But the story says that he tried, in spite of all the conspiracies against him. So from Bible time, there are always trouble for God's people who put their trust in God. Job, you know the story of Job. You know the prophets, Isaiah and Jeremiah and Ezekiel, and Paul and Silas, who were thrown in jail for their faith in Jesus Christ. And yes, even the Son of God, Jesus himself, always seemed to be up against it in this real world of ours. And I'm sure you know the story, don't you, in the New Testament? And you might wonder, how on earth did that poor, feeble woman with the issue of blood, you know the story in Mark chapter 5, don't you? How on earth did she make it after 12 years of suffering from hemorrhage? How on earth did she make it to Jesus with no healthcare system around to rescue and to relieve her of her dilemma? And her faith in Jesus, said Mark in the Gospel. Her faith in Jesus that said, if I can just touch the hem of his garment, I know I will be made whole. And she wasn't disappointed, was she? And you know the story in Mark chapter 9, that distraught father who met Jesus with his son, suffering with severe epileptic seizures from birth, how he often fell into fires and water that could drown him unexpectedly. Only God knows how he made it to Jesus on that occasion to cry out, Lord, if you can, please have mercy on us. I just picture the relief and the rejoicing when the Master of Jesus said to him, all things are possible to those who put their trust in God. And he very honestly, he confessed, Lord, I hear what you are saying, and I believe with all my faith, but you know, my little faith is mixed up with some doubt in it. But since you said all things are possible to those who believe, I am going to throw myself on you and your compassion and your care, and you know the end of the story. He was not disappointed, was he? His faith did indeed come to his rescue and make his son whole. And that's what Mark says he found healing and wholeness for his son right then and there. What a remarkable story. So he was up against it, like the others, the woman with the issue of blood, like Daniel, like the prophets of old. But when they put their trust in God, things changed, and what a dramatic difference was made in their life. And that is what I'm saying to us at Lely this morning. If only we will put our trust in God, all things are possible. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Yes, I'm saying that faith, according to the writer to the Hebrew, faith is the assurance of things that you're hoping for. The evidence, the conviction right now of things that you have not yet seen. And so the question for us as I end is, when you're up against it, and when you're up against the the giants and the lions in this real world, like the Goliaths and Daniel and the prophets that they had to deal with. What is it that makes the difference? Is it not the belief that is espoused and remarked on and affirmed in the Bible when it says, if God be for us? Can you say that with me? If God be for us, who can be against us? That is what made all the difference in their lives then, and it will make all the difference in our lives here at Lely in the coming days. Do you know what I'm talking about? If you believe it with all your heart, it's the same kind of thing that helps our mothers and fathers in the past when they believed in the midst of the difficulties and the discouraging circumstances that they faced, what the great wisdom writer said in Proverbs 3 and verse 6, trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not rely only or ultimately on your own feeble understanding. Instead, in all your ways acknowledge God as the Lord of all life. God, that same God, will make your way plain, will remove all the obstacles out of your pathway, and you will be able to have victory and success. Do you believe that?
Yes.
I'm saying to us this morning that the best formula for ensuring that you can convince yourself and others who are up against the Daniel obstacles and the lions of this world and the Goliaths of this world, even though you feel like you're a little David and that you're in the lion's den and problems and tribulation are all around you and determined to defeat you and to discourage you. But when you know, like David said, up against that great Goliath, you come to me with all your sword and javelin and all your military equipment, and yes, everybody thinks that you're going to defeat me, but I'm coming to you, Mr. Goliath, in the name of the Lord. And that is what made all the difference, didn't it? Friends, I'm saying to us this morning, and now I invite you to join me as you look on the back of your bulletin, where it says servant notes. That there is a way, there is a formula. I'm calling it the faith acrostic formula. If you really want to be able to affirm with all of your heart, yes, we can. Yes, we surely can. I'm going to give you these 5 pieces of the formula. Number 1, persistence. Never give up. Cultivate a can-do, will-try attitude like David. Even though his brothers and the experts were saying, you can't possibly prevail against Goliath. He's a famous general, and he's an army leader who has been in battle from the day he was born. But because David said, I'm never going to give up when I put my trust and my faith in God, he triumphed, and he didn't have a sword in his hand. Do you know what I'm talking about? I'm talking about persistence, number 1. And then, number 2, resilience. Never give in to the frustrations and the discouragement of life and the difficulties that will come your way. For as Israel, when they were in Babylon, found out, and as Isaiah was made to tell them, those who wait and hope in the Lord shall renew their strength. They will mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Do you believe that this morning? I'm talking about the resilience that says, I will never give up in the face of all the tragedies and tribulations of this world. And then the third one you see is insistence. Insistence on only the highest and only the best for you and for those whom you love, and for all of God's children, not just for you yourself. Don't settle for just coming to church on Sunday morning and listening to this old preacher from Fort Myers and going home and never paying any attention to the scriptures and to cultivating your own faith. Insist on cultivating a faith that is strong and a belief that is sturdy as you put your trust and faith and hope in the Lord. I'm talking about insistence. And then the fourth one is diligence. Diligence is stick-to-itness. That's what I'm calling it this morning. Keep your eyes on the prize of what you hope for and what you dream that God will do for you and your family and for this church as it witnesses to God's love and mercy in this community. You remember the poem that says, "The heights by great ones reached and kept were not attained by sudden flight, but they, while their companions slept, were toiling upward through the night." That is the kind of diligence and hard work and labor that will make all the difference to how we grow and what we do at Lely. And the last one is excellence. The best efforts, the highest standard for all that you do and for all that you expect to accomplish in this community and in the name of this church. For God Almighty expects nothing less than the excellence of our effort and our faith and our commitment to the work that God has called us to. And then remember that when you give of your best, you will have the pride. Notice the acrostic? The pride of gentle faith in the God of all creation, who says, "Eyes have not seen, nor ears heard, nor has it entered into the human heart what God has in store for they who put their trust and have their faith firmly anchored in God." That's what I'm talking about. My friends, I'm saying to us, the battle is the Lord. When we hold to God's unchanging hand, all things are possible. Let us sing that as we end this morning. All things are possible for those who believe and behave as though they believe that all things are possible. Do you know what I'm talking about?